Bom, boa noite a todos, todes, todas. Muito obrigada pela presença. Estou super feliz de estar aqui. E estou muito feliz por estar aqui com a Maryse Alberti, que generosamente aceitou esse convite para vir aqui na Semana ABC falar conosco. Então, sem muitas delongas, bom, vamos conversar com a Maryse, que é uma diretora de fotografia francesa, mora em Nova York há muitos anos e fez muitos filmes, tanto documentários como ficção. Ela trabalhou com diretores como Todd Solondz, Todd Haynes, Richard Linklater, Darren Aronofsky, M. Night Shyamalan, Ryan Coogler, Ron Howard, Denzel Washington. Então, com vocês, Maryse, muito obrigada. Eu gostaria que você começasse falando um pouquinho do seu começo, como você começou a trabalhar com filmes.
Well, first I want to thank you all to be here, to take time to listen and watch. Thank you, Fernanda, and everybody else who invited me. Oh, this is terrible. I've traveled all over the world and South and Central America. I've never been to Brazil. So when that invitation came, I had to come. So thank you very much. I'll try to make it quick. My story, I was born in France. I came to the States to escape my little village. I came to meet Jimi Hendrix, but he was already dead. I grew up without a TV. I never saw a movie. I came here, I was au pair. Then very quickly, I hitchhiked across country for 3 years. And then I had a little Instamatic camera, and I kind of love taking pictures. I came back, a friend gave me a Nikon camera. My friends were artists, theater, rock and roll, so I worked for the New York Rocker. I was a waitress, of course, to make the bulk of my money. And then one day, I go fast, but one day, a friend asked me, do you want to be a still photographer on a movie? I'm working on a movie, they need still for publicity. And I said, sure, I think they pay $50 or $75, sure. And, but he said, it's an X-rated movie. So I said, great. So my first step on a film set were X-rated film, so porn film. There was then, it was like the very beginning of the 80s, so they were still shot on film, 35mm film. And I took a lot of pictures, kept a lot of them for myself, made artwork then, you know, after that. But on the film, it was kind of my film school. I met a lot of the crew were students from NYU, from Columbia. I met people. I met a man who was a cameraman. I lied. I said, yeah, sure, I can do it. I became his assistant. I learned in the back to change film with a book. But then he was good, so he got good jobs, and I started to travel the world. He was generous. He helped me to get a little job. In the meantime, I had a Super 8 camera. I made a little film. Then I met a woman, Stephanie Black, that's like more than 30 years ago, who to this day is my friend. And she was doing a film about Jamaican farm workers who live in slave camps in Florida and cut the sugarcane. So we started to shoot that movie. I sort of knew what I was doing, but not really. But it took us 2 years to shoot this movie. And it was quite an adventure. It was just her and I. Once we had a sound man who came with us. But it was really just her and I with no permission, no access. We got arrested because we were trespassing. I mean, but the film went to Sundance. It won Best Documentary and Best Cinematography. My first film won Best Cinematography. So that's it, I was a cinematographer. And like my first little word of wisdom, I don't know if you student or filmmaker, you know, when you start, shoot to learn, but then you pick a winner. It's not always easy, but pick a winner, because you could do a great job on a movie that nobody sees. It's going to take you a while. You do a good job on a good movie that everybody sees. That's it. You're riding the wave. So I rode the wave of H2 Worker, and I became a cinematographer, and I work. And 12 years later, after many movies, I shot a lot of documentaries. I did a film called The Armstrong Lie on Lance Armstrong last Tour de France, where he was with Contador. That was kind of his comeback. We started to make a film on a comeback, and basically we make a film on the confession. I mean, the accusation of the doping, and finally the confession of Lance. Yes, I took drugs. So I chose those two movies to show you as documentary, because the first one, H2 Worker, was my first one. I hope it kind of looked good. I don't know what the state is of the picture, but because both are cinema verite, but one is like two people are doing it, sort of, we were learning, we took a lot of risks. I would never do that film again because I was young and crazy. And then Armstrong is a film, we had money, we had total access to Lance, we had total access inside the Tour de France. We had 3 crews. One was, you know, the guys on the motorcycle who film inside the tour. One was my assistant, which I move up. People have moved me up. I always try to push everybody up. And he was in charge of doing, you know, the pretty shot or the shot of the tour going by. I was doing the same thing inside the tour, but every night we were going to Lance's room. We had total access to Lance. And I chose to work. And then also we had very small camera. We had the permission for 2 days to put very small camera on a bike on one of the riders. We had very small, the lipstick camera inside of the car that Lance's support car. So there was, H2 Worker was very simple technically. Lance was very complicated with all those camera, all those crew. As a DP, you have to manage of the crew, so not everybody does the same shot, and you have to understand the technique of all those different tools. So they both cinema verite, but coming and approaching with very different ways. I hope you enjoy. Yeah. Clip number 1, H2 Worker.
Ok. Pode passar, por favor, o clipe 1 e o 2?
I want to build a home. I want to build a house back home in Jamaica, and it's a struggle to do it back home. So I had to fight as hard as I can, although it's not what I want. I got to proceed with it.
November 7th. My dear Patricia, good day to you and all the rest of the family. and I hope everything is fine with you. We work for 2 weeks now, but the money is very low. They tell us it's always like that in the beginning. They say not much sugar in the cane. I never heard of this, but maybe later on the price will increase. The cold in the morning is very rough up here. We have to wear about 3 shirts to work and pants and gloves. The boss man is fine, and I and them get along well sometimes. The companies here are really big. Even the cane rows are longer, like from Miss Lou's shop to our house. Imagine that. I never saw so much cane before in my life. So take care and kiss yourself till I hear from you. Make sure Kenneth don't let me plot go to bush. Vincent.
But this is a whole different company. This is Osceola Cigar Mill, and they're real strict. You know, you have to have real good written permission with you because they have a standing order for us to arrest anybody that comes on the property. And they're real strict about it.
I'm just a supervisor here, but I can't allow no one inside here.
They post notices in every barrack stating the rules and regulations, which they didn't tell us back home. They instruct us that we can't leave the camp for more than 24 hours, nor go anywhere farther than 30 miles distant.
The camps meet all of the standards of the United States Department of Labor and the island states. The food that is prepared in the camps is food that the workers want to eat. We even bring over cooks from the islands to prepare the food in a manner that they like. It's a diet that you and I would not eat because we would gain a tremendous amount of weight, but we don't exercise and work as hard as the labor does either. We're proud of our labor program. It's a good program. It's a program that has benefits for the workers. It's a program that's been around for a long time. It's withstood examination after examination after examination.
What?
Going good. Come on, we accelerate bit by bit. Come on.
In the first stage, a short time trial, Lance wanted to make a statement. In the past, he had always dominated time trials. An impressive performance here would show everyone he was back.
He doesn't look good to me. No. Come on, Lance. Come on. Pick it up. Come on. Go. 1 kilometer. Yes, I'm in the race now. I'm in the race. Call me back.
Look at his face. Lance Armstrong, 7-time the winner of Tour de France. He's headed for the big time.
Lance's time put him in first place by 30 seconds, but with all the best riders still to come.
Pushes on for the finish. He's looking to beat the time of Bradley Wiggins of 1951. He is sprinting for the line, and the best time.
One by one, the best riders in the world, including his Astana teammate Alberto Contador, beat his time.
A great ride by Alberto Contador, who won the Tour in 2007. Contador is second. Is he now the leader of Astana? He certainly laid claim to that. Well, that's a great ride by this.
Lance finished the first stage in 10th place, 40 seconds behind the leader, and 22 seconds behind his teammate, Alberto Contador. From the start, I watched Lance's comeback hopes collide with a ferocious rider who bore an eerie resemblance to Armstrong 10 years earlier.
These guys never talked to each other. They came out of the bus. I never once saw them look at each other, make eye contact. They would walk right past each other. It was the weirdest thing.
The honest truth is that there's a little tension at the dinner table.
While each team in the tour has 9 riders, usually just one, the team leader, is riding for the yellow jersey. On Astana, Armstrong and Contador were dueling for the right to lead. The other cyclists were known as domestiques, French for servants.
Bloody has no arm warmer. Oh, this, okay. Who else? Anybody else? This?
São exemplos bem diferentes, né, de documentário. O que te atrai fazer documentários? A falta de controle, entre aspas, como diretora de fotografia, te estimula?
So, what attracts me documentary? I mean, you travel the world. I've seen the world. I've spent time with the Dalai Lama. I travel the world. I spend time with the Dalai Lama in his quarters in Dar es Salaam. I met the King of Spain. I met Gorbachev. I slept with the miners in mines of Bolivia. The camera, the documentary camera gives you access that, as a civilian, as a tourist, you would not have. So that's the first thing. It's an adventure. I don't shoot dogs anymore. I don't miss the shooting. I miss the adventure. So, but just things move. But also, documentary teaches you as a human being, teaches you to be humble. I've seen poor people. I've seen people having really hard life, really, really hard. And as a filmmaker, I get back in the van. We get back in the van and go back to the hotel, or go back to it. So it teaches you to be humble, and I think that's important, to appreciate how privileged we are, all of us here. And as a cinematographer, I think my favorite directors of photography, Roger Deakins, Bob Richardson, who have changed cinematography, they all came from documentary. I think you learn when you are in a situation like in Lance's room, or in the middle of a revolution. I've shot revolution in the Soviet Union, in Nicaragua. You learn very quickly, where should I be? Where is the best place for the camera to be? You learn that, and that you can bring to feature film. You learn a camera movement. You learn how to cover a scene. Sometimes you just cover it into just one movement. Sometimes you have to chop it up. Same thing as in movies. You learn how to light really simply. Lance, there was no light. H2 Worker, there was no light. I did a movie called Crumb on the artist Robert Crumb. I had a little suitcase with 2 lights and some light bulbs. So you bring that to feature film. And, feature, I'm happy. I can have 18K if I need to. So it's a different way. But it's not, it has nothing to do about control. What happened at some point, the camera changed. It was like, it was not this anymore, like where this is part of me, the Aton camera, or then the Verican camera. I can melt in the background. I can sit and disappear. I'm small, the camera is small. And then it became all those video, like the Canon C300, like you have to shoot like that with monitor, or if you need a viewfinder, it's in the wrong place. And by the time you make it into a shooting camera, is this medieval contraption, So I moved away from that. My son was going to college. I didn't need to be home so often. I had done a couple of feature films, and there was a challenge. Yeah, docs also were not a challenge too much anymore in terms of the shooting, and movies work because I was kind of just starting. I had done a few movies, and then I got to shoot Velvet Goldmine, which had nothing to do with what I learned in documentary, but was, I have to say, I wish I had a movie like that to shoot now with what I know and the experience I have. But it was quite a ride to shoot this film. So let's look at a clip of Velvet Goldmine.
Ok. Passa o clipe número 3, por favor.
To be a pop idol.
Childhood, adults always say, is the happiest time in life.
You don't have to clap after every movie.
Well, Velvet Goldmine. Então você caiu para fazer Velvet Goldmine. Como é que foi o seu approach? Quer dizer, você recebeu o roteiro e como você chegou a esse conceito visual, né? Como você trabalha geralmente, aliás, quando você recebe um roteiro? O que te atrai primeiro?
Well, I mean, I had done a film with Todd Haynes before, and I love working with him. And I mean, glam rock, how can you not go for it, you know? So what I did, I started to collect a lot of gels because we didn't have light then where you can tweak the colors and find the colors, LED lights. So I shot a lot of tests with colors. I met a woman who was a lighting designer on rock and roll concert. And I went with her to a couple of Beck concerts, and I showed her, you know, some kind of the scene of rock and roll, talk about colors. I find out where were the lights used at that time in the 70s, so we use the same lights. And I just decided the color blue that you've seen here, it goes through the film. The color blue would be the idea of creativity. Why? Don't ask me. You know, sometimes we have ideas and there's not a reason, but you follow through with your idea. You know, you get inspired. I think, you know, someone asked me how do you get inspired? How do you find a film? You get inspired by life, you know, keep your antennas open and always look for that light at night in that bar, those colors, that restaurant, that, you know, and I had just seen an art installation where things were shot in a mirror with water. So the image was a reflection in a mirror with water and shot. So I told Todd that, you know, the sex scene in movies, the sex scene, the church scene, the school rooms, this kind of, those classic of movies you want to try to, you know, to find. So I offer that, and that's what we did. So it was just an idea that came from an art show that I think that had nothing to do with glam rock. But we shot the reflection. I mean, it was quite a hard thing to build. The grips had the greatest people on the set, I think.
They are.
They build amazing stuff, and a big mirrors, and that was the idea of flames, heat, you know. So, but I think this interesting looking sex scene. So you get a script, you read it a few times for the story, then you start to have images. And this is my process. I take notes inside of the scripts. I try to watch things or to read things that have something to do with the story. But sometimes I go to a bookstore, I just look at photography books, not having anything to do with the story, but just you might find an image that kind of resonates. So I put myself in a position to always absorb. When I shoot a movie, I'm in, and I always find that, I look at it a little bit like being in the fog. You read the script, and how do you approach it? It's a fog, and then the fog clears a little bit as you do research, as you see things. Then the fog clears more when you start to scout and see location and talking with the directors. So the fogs open up. And the day you get, for me, the day you get on the set, there's still a little bit of fog. You're still finding it on the day. That's what is kind of exciting, but you want to be, obviously, all that. You want to be as ready as you can be when you get on the set. So then you can find, sometimes the light falls off the truck or falls. I've had a scene where I had planned a whole thing in this big church and like with this staircase, and the light, there's a big 18K, got turned on, and all of a sudden there was all those shadows, and I say, whoa, this looks great. Let's go with that. And the director said, okay. And then very quick, we changed the plan. And so sometimes you prepare, but be open to, the accident. So, yeah, the script in the fog, and then it clears. Hopefully it clears completely once you finish shooting the scene, but yes. And there's many different ways to approach a script, and many different ways to work with the director. I think this is something you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
But directors are different, and your job is to adapt and to serve the director. I've worked Todd Haynes and John Curran, and Darren Aronofsky. Sometimes they do some storyboard. Todd Haynes and John Curran elaborate very pretty drawing. I've saved someone like Ron Howard. He comes the day of the script. In the back of the script, before the script, there's some scribbles there, But we have rehearsed. We have talk. We've talk and talk and talk. This is something also. Spend as much time as possible with the director. Become a team. Because movies, there's always some stuff coming at you, some problems, some issues. So you want to be a team with the director. So you have each other back. So spend time. I'm not saying become friends, but know each other, know the script. So when you're on the set, you're already a solid team. And I've been lucky that in different ways, it has always happened.
E aqui, na verdade, a gente até falou sobre isso, que já tem um prenúncio do plano sequência, extended shot, eu não sei se ela sabe traduzir isso, seguindo o ator pelas costas.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Que a gente vê em vários dos seus filmes, né?
I want to ask you, how many people understand me, or how many people I listen? How many people understand English? Oh, yeah, all right. It's pretty good. Okay, so the idea of the shot behind the next clip is the wrestler?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I first talked with Darren Aronofsky, the reference that he gave me was the Dardenne brothers, the Belgian cinematographers. I don't know if you know them. So they have those very long shots. They follow people. They So that was kind of our idea, just to follow Mickey from the back, to follow this, to follow this man, to almost be in his head. And we decided one lens. The movie is shot on one lens, in 16mm, the 12mm, which is kind of 24, 25, which presented his own challenge because a 24 here it's good, here it starts to distort. So you have to know where you were a little bit. But that brings me to another thing. Sometimes you will talk with directors and they have ideas, no, we're going to shoot this thing all in one take. And then come the days, well, maybe let's do coverage, let's do this, or maybe not, let's change lens. And so sometimes, if you have an idea, you stick with it, and it's scary, because you don't do coverage and that's it. That's your idea, you did it, and in editing room, that's all you have. But sometimes that's what's going to make the movie special. The movie that we're going to see is The Wrestler. I think what makes the movie really is Mickey Rourke as a wrestler, is the actor. But I think the cinema we did also supported that. And that was like the beginning of the single take. I love to do single takes, a scene in one shot. And I make it now that I'm trying that every movie I do, there's a scene in one shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I love that. I love to be able, and most actors, although it's a challenge, like that too, because it is a challenge. So we can look at The Wrestler, and then we look at Creed, where there's more of that.
Ok. Passa o clipe 4, por favor.
So I just wanted to make, Fernanda thought that a lot of The Wrestler were on Steadicam, and it's all handheld. Just,
Yes, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
It looks like Steadicam.
Well, yeah, it's handheld.
But, eu gosto muito da fotografia. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Eu gosto muito da fotografia desse filme, mas eu queria entender um pouco. Vocês conceberam o filme inteiro em planos sequências? Ele já foi concebido assim? Ou isso veio depois dos ensaios com o Mickey?
No. I think I've answered that already. That was the idea of this movie. Was the Dardenne brothers film? Photo from beyond. Don't cut too much. So it was
the idea came before.
Yeah, that was the concept of the film. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next. Fernanda, do you have more questions?
No. Go ahead.
The next clip I will show Creed, the boxing film. So Creed was inspired by The Wrestler and A Prophet. I don't know if you know that film. It's a French movie, A Prophet. I forgot the name of the filmmaker. It's just a great film. So those were the two ideas for Creed, and then also the idea of doing scene as one shot. And that was from the beginning. Creed was interesting me to work with Ryan Coogler to do a boxing film. I had just done a wrestling film, that I was offered a boxing film. But it was also a film that allowed us to have a lot of other texture, than boxing. And it was a bigger budget. That was my first $35 million film. and I just wanted to take on the challenge. It was the world I didn't know. So as part of research, as the same thing as a wrestler, I saw so many wrestling match for the rest of my life, no more wrestling match. Boxing, I went to a lot of boxing matches. So that's part of the, I mean, I went to see those, all those fights, not so much for camera, but for the lighting. How are those fights lit in, you know, because all those movies were grounded in reality, you know, and you don't know what you absorb, but you have to go into the world of the story that you're telling as much as you can. And you absorb, you're not even aware to a time, but you're going to absorb things, you know. Don't stay home on the couch and write and read. Go in the world where your film happens. So Creed, we can talk about, I show you some clips that are well known because of, you know, that winner of the fight. And Creed also, the challenge, it's about the choreography of those fights. I've started to look at them as, I mean, first you do a lot of rehearsal. You work with the stunt coordinator, you work with the boxing coordinator, you work with real boxers. And I was first a little bit, I'm like this little small white woman and it's like all those big guys. But I find all those guys were so great and welcoming and wanted to help and just were great collaborators. So you figure out a choreography that works for the world of boxing, that makes sense, but then also that works for the camera. So this is two things. And Michael B. Jordan, trained a lot to be a boxer, but we work with real boxers. And the challenge with the real boxers were to make them aware of the camera. Sometimes I wanted the boxer to like push to the camera, and the reaction was go away from them, go around the camera. No, come to the camera. So, but it was. I mean, we had enough prep time. We had a ring in the production studio, and I spent a lot of time in the ring. And I looked at it a little bit like a monologue. So everybody had to learn, you know, like actor learn a monologue. So you have to learn the monologue of the movement. And then the Steadicam operator, who was great, had to learn the monologue of the camera. And we did, for the take, you know, for the fight, we did 12 takes. And I think it was the 10th take was the best. Not so much for the boxing, it was for Sylvester Stallone, who kept on messing up at the end. But yes, those things, those one shot, you have to prep them, you have to rehearse them, and you gotta be willing to go 10, 12, or 15 takes. So we can look at Creed, which I think is the longest. Fernanda, I thought it was too long, so we'll see what happens.
But it's beautiful. Passa então o clipe 5, por favor. Creed. Então, de novo, aqui em Creed, você tem várias cenas super long shots, extended shots, super bem coreografados, né? Quer dizer, nas cenas de boxe, o que a gente veria normalmente seriam uma edição super picotada, né? Que é um caminho mais fácil para conseguir um ritmo e dar atenção. Mas aqui vocês optaram pelo caminho oposto, que justamente os planos longos e planos sequências. Você podia comentar um pouco mais sobre as dificuldades técnicas que você enfrentou, iluminar, etc.
Well, I mean, technical difficulty, I think I would address that. Rehearsal, finding the choreography, working with stunt people and boxing people. And then, you know, the thing that was easy is that the lighting of the ring is above. So I brought in someone whose job it is to light a boxing match. And he helped me to find, it's all with par lights, but all different pars have a different angle. So just to angle the lights so that you have, it's even in the ring, but you don't create shadows of the cameras. So, you know, bringing a specialist, because I don't, you know, that's not my forte, you know, get all the help you can to achieve the shot that you want. But that was just about a choreography. It took us a long time to figure out the shot. That, I don't know if you saw Creed, but the last fight of in the movie is full of cuts and full of cranes and full of, you know, but we had when Ryan asked me about that shot, you know, there was, the producers were also saying, well, maybe you should do shot of the audience to cut this, that. And I told Ryan, if you do shot of the audience, they're gonna want to use them. So you have an idea, again, you stick with it. And it worked. And then people talk about the shot in Creed, the one shot boxing, you know, so yes.
Ok, e este foi o seu segundo... I'm sorry. Esse foi o seu segundo filme com um lutador, né? Um personagem de luta. Antes, eu acho que uma mulher diretora de fotografia não seria a primeira escolha, ou seja, não seria a escolha mais óbvia para um diretor, né? E, no entanto, esse foi o seu segundo filme num tema que seria considerado masculino, né? Como mulher diretora de fotografia, quais foram as suas dificuldades, assim, né?
Women cinematographer, when are we going to stop talking about women cinematographer and just cinematographer?
Hopefully soon.
I mean, I was lucky that, you know, I mean, I was, those directors looked at my work, you know, my documentary work and feature work, and trusted me to do this film. I think women, we can do anything. We can do love stories and boxing stories. So I think time have changed, you know, then, yes, it was kind of a little leap of faith, but, you know, time have changed and women, I still, you know, it's still in the mind of the people with money. I remember one of the first movie I shot, I mean, that was like maybe 20 years ago, a producer asked me, but can you deal with the big lights? And I was like, I can't believe this guy is asking me that. I was trying to be very nice because I wanted to get the job. I can't believe he's asking me that. How do I answer that? So I said, you know, actually, I don't deal with the big lights. I don't carry them. I have very strong men, and I tell them where to put the light. And everybody in the room kind of laugh and this. But that kind of thing, we have, I guess, women DPs in the room. I mean, I don't get this anymore. I mean, you know, I work with pretty much a whole straight male white crews. I try to integrate. There are more women in the camera department, but grip and electric is still hard to find. You know, it is moving, but it's still, you know, it's still a struggle. But I mean, I think now it's a great time to be a woman. As I was at a party with Darren Aronofsky, and he said, we did a wrestler, he said, if you're a woman, if you're black, and if you're gay, man, you have it all, you know. But it is a great time to be a woman, because I think it got a little bit fashionable more to hire women. People want to hire women because it's politically correct. Go for it. Go, you know. Someone like Ron Howard, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, would he have thought to hire me? Probably not. but it was in the zeitgeist, oh yeah, we can hire women, it's good to hire women, and he liked my work, and he liked that I came from documentary, so yes. But once in a while, as women, we're gonna find that rare man who is gonna, a little bit of machismo, and you wonder, would he talk to me like that if I was a big guy? Probably not, but just, you move forward. And if it becomes a little bit too much, I think it's totally good now to to really stop it. I think that there was a time where, as women, we were kind of a little bit afraid to speak up for ourselves or to, but now I think we have to, I think we should, and I think it's the right moment to. Good. Yeah. And you guys are great too, I mean, I love men too, and I have a great crew of mainly guys who have my back, who support me, and I'm learning from them, so, I'm not all anti-guy or all-women crew, no, but, let's reestablish a balance,
Exactly, that's the point, reestablish the balance, right?
Yes, yes. Exactly. So, I'm just getting late, but I want to show you a Chappaquiddick. It's a movie, my third movie with John Curran. I'm showing it to you because it's a lot of night work. It's a lot of work underwater, on the water. So when you start to read the script and you see that a lot of night, if you see stunts, if you see water or a lot of car stuff, you're going to make sure that you have the right schedule. Look at how much time you are given to do those things to take a long time. So we can look at Chappaquiddick.
Okay. Clipe 6, por favor. Então, nesse filme, a gente vê o uso de cores, como em todos os seus filmes, que é bastante sofisticado, né? Conta um pouco, por favor, como é a sua relação, o seu trabalho com o diretor de arte, production designer.
Very good question, yeah. I mean, my first collaborator is a director, my second collaborator is a production designer. You have to work with a production designer. Some are easier to work with than other, but, there were some ideas there. This is a thing that happens. When did that happen? Ted Kennedy and the girl. What year was that? Oh. But, so we talk about color in the room, we talk about color in the furniture, then you work with the costume designers. So like the image is, we photograph what we're given. So sometimes I can see things that don't work if the production designer and the costume designer doesn't talk enough, it's for you to say, well, we should get together, we should talk about it. So this film, I don't know, actually I don't think there's a lot of colors, but the first part of the film, I wanted to do a little Edward Hopper on those windows, all the underwater stuff was this green and blue. But yeah, very important. Your next collaborator is a production designer. Definitely. You know what I would like to do now? Because I have 2 more clips, but I think maybe if you have any question, I think you should send question. Yes. Are you okay with that, Fernanda?
Sure, yes.
Because it's getting late and we should have... Okay.
Oi.
Oi. Hola.
First of all, I would like to thank you for accepting the Fernanda's invitation, because we are huge fans of your work, and I mean it's an enormous pleasure to be actually talking with you. And then I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the relationship between music and photography? Because it came to me with the scene of the wrestler that Mickey Rourke is his about to enter in the, I think that it's a kitchen, and then there's a sound that reminds me like a fight, you know, and then
yes. So, you know, in movie, I mean, sometimes the director is going to give you tracks of music. Sometimes they don't know, you know, but I always ask, you know, what music should I be listening to for the whole movie? What music should I be listening to for that scene? And sometimes some director puts things in your ears, and so yes.
Because we can agree that there is a whole different of universe between like music and photography. And then my question is about like, how do you feel like as a photographer, director, how do you feel about the connection between a music that you're not like connected between a photographer with?
First, I think that the danger for filmmaker is to blanket, I call it to blanket the images with music. You have to trust your images. You have to sometimes put it forward, sometimes to put it backwards, you know. Most of the movies that I've done, the music I connected to, I thought was the right music for the film. I just finished a movie actually in New Orleans with Jamie Foxx and Tommy Lee Jones. And the director would put music in my head, and I was like, I don't get it, but I'm going to trust that. Plus, you know, that might change too. But music is really, I mean, it's one of the arts of filmmaking. You know, you have cinematography, you have production design, you have costume design, and you have music. This is filmmaking is collaborative and is collaboration of all those art forms. So yeah, very important.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes. Well, we'll get to you.
Hi.
Hi.
In that scene, in the Creed scene.
In Creed.
The fight scene, the long shot, the sequence. Where were you physically?
Physically, I'm
when the scene was being shot.
I am under the ring with Ryan with an iPad.
Oh no! Really?
Yes. Yeah.
You're kidding. You're under the the ring.
Like below the ring, not under.
Below the ring.
Yeah, but below the ring with an iPad. And because you know, I knew the choreography because we had to work on it for so long. So I was like, okay, get there. You know. Physically, you start to do the move. But yeah, this is when I started to work with iPad, because when we started to work in digital, there's this tendency to be in the DIT tent, you know, which I have this tendency because it's great to see your image there. But I started to work with an iPad, and I'm on the set with the iPad. Some directors, I work with Denzel Washington. I did a movie with him as a director. He's in his own room, far away, with a script supervisor. I'm allowed to come in. The first AD is allowed to come in, but he's not on the set, you know. Ron Howard is on the set with a monitor on the set. Different directors have different way. I like to be on the set, and then when you know, when it's all already, I can go to the DIT, but for that instance, I needed to be in the middle of, sometimes you want to be in the middle of things, and sometimes the performance of the actors, we're so lucky, you know, like it's like theater, and you have actors, you're in the first row of the performance, and when you have actors like, you know, like, I've worked with Glenn Close and Amy Adams, and performance is so intense. I have a clip, but I think it's too late. It's so intense that it gets emotional, you know. I have a lot of respect for actors. I think as cinematographer, we have to respect the job of the actors. We have to give the actors room and space. We have to sometimes hug emotionally to make them feel safe, you know. Even like big actors, you know, like on the last film I did, someone like Jamie Foxx was kind of amazing, you know. I mean, he's achieved so much. Once in a while, at the end of a take, he would look at me, and I was So, you know, yeah, I mean, what makes the movie is the script and is the actors, then everybody else, the director too, but we all in supporting roles.
How fast was your heart beating that time?
My heart was beating fast.
When the scene was finishing.
Yeah. Well,
it's almost there.
We did by the 10th.
Did you punch the ceiling? Yeah. Go to the right, go to the right.
By the 10th take, Ryan and I, we knew that we had it. But you know, all filmmakers, yes, it was great. Let's do one more. You know, so we did 2 more, but really it was the 10th take. There's somebody back there that, yeah. Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hola.
First, thank you. Was amazing. I have a question about the wrestler.
About
the wrestler.
Yes.
The wrestler from Aronofsky. Since the beginning, the visual of the movie is a little dirty. Since the beginning was thought about that with some vintage lenses.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand the question.
About the visual of the wrestling since the beginning was thought to be a little dirty, something like that, more natural.
Yes. Yes, so yes, we shot the film in 16mm, and the idea was very gritty. Producer wanted us to shoot in video. It was kind of the beginning of the digital, and I said, no, let's shoot it in film. And the idea, the story is very gritty, so you have to do a gritty image. I mean, the story has to dictate your visual. You know, you don't shoot the wrestler like you shoot Creed. You know, it's a different story. Plus, you know, it's also, you know, there is The Wrestler was an independent movie. It was $7 million. You kind of do whatever you want. When you shoot Creed, it's 35. It's a Warner Brother. They want a Warner Brother movie. They want more a production. I would not even have thought to tell them, hey, let's shoot that in 16. No, that would not have gone. So you have to understand also not only what the story is, but who are the people who are paying for the film, you know. Sometime I did a movie with Will Smith, Collateral Beauty, and it was a Christmas movie. I mean, it was a very dark story about a man who's lost his child, but it was at Christmas, and the studio told me, we want that look. We want a look of a big Warner Brother movie at Christmas, but with a dark story. So you have to understand that to as cinematographer and deliver, you know.
You've talked a little bit about the lack of control on your documentary movies, right? And how you have to embrace it. But one of our jobs as cinematographers is to create some unity between scenes, right? And how do you approach that in documentary? How do you create a set of rules or do's and don'ts in those kind of situations?
First, on documentary, I don't call it lack of control. I call it life, which you don't often control. Life happens to you. But some movies, you have ideas of, you know, the same director who did The Lance Armstrong. I did 2 movies with him. One won an Academy Award. The other one was nominated. And we had more of a visual sense. It was a story. And Ron, the smartest guys in the room, and Taxi to the Dark Side about the US policy on torture. So there was a lot of interview, and I knew there was things that I could design more, like the look of the interviews. So and then to try to give it a unity. Yes, as you talk about. Some movie like Lance Armstrong, I mean, it is what it is, you know. And H2 Worker with like no control, I mean, no permission, no control. We had to jump in the van and jump out and jump in the bus. So, but there are some documentary is such a big world now. You have the documentary of Frederick Wiseman, like follow. You have the documentary of Errol Morris, who are highly stylized. So you have a whole language of documentary. You have to find your story, and the kind of access that you have and the kind of control that you have.
Hi.
Hi.
I loved your work.
Well, thank you.
Picking up the hook here about the documentary, I would like to understand, your first documentary that you show remind me a little bit of Jean Rouge. I don't know, that's how you spell it.
Jean Rouge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You spell it better. So, have you ever wondered while you were shooting if, like, what I'm doing here, do those people want to be filmed? And I don't know, like, you felt something that you don't really need to be there filming that? Because nowadays, cameras are more like guns than ever. So while you're filming someone, people sometimes feel threatened while you're filming them. So
I think I understand the question. So I think as documentary filmmaker, you have to push. You have to don't take no for an answer. You have to put the camera in someone's face. You have to read people too. You have to know when to step back. But in the case of the farm workers, you know, here was like all those men who had very little power. They were like in slave camps. And here's those two white girls that show up with a backpack and the camera. So what we did, we made friends and tried to give as much respect as we could. So we will have made friends with the bus driver. We jump in the bus, like in the middle of the road. And then we tell the guys, we're making this film. This is what we're doing. We're trying to show that, blah, blah, blah. Can we please film? And even before we got, I was filming, you know. So I think you have to sense when to push, when to put. It's a little bit of Tai Chi, you know. But I think the essence of a good documentary filmmaker, you gotta get in there to get the story, you know. And I've worked for Frontline for a while, so I've done 2 movies in Nicaragua with the Contras and the Sandinistas. I've done movies in the Soviet Union during the fall of the Soviet Union, and I was in the middle of wars and revolutions, you know. So then you have to learn how to keep this eye open. This one is in the lens, this eye open to see what's going on around you. But I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes.
I did. Okay, good.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I love your work in The Visit. I love this movie. Anyway.
In The Visit? You've seen The Visit?
Yes, I love this movie so much.
That's a crazy movie.
Yeah. Like when you work as a cinematographer, you prefer to like handle the camera like manually, or like in the Creed scene, you prefer to like just.
Okay, so because I come from documentary where I always had the camera, it took me a long time to give up the camera, you know. On Creed, no, on The Wrestler, I did some of the work, but I had a great handheld camera operator. Now the Steadicam, I gotta give it up because I'm not learning how to do the Steadicam, you know. So, but on most movies, I have operators. But sometimes I feel that for this scene, instead of explaining, I just gotta be on. But I think I've given up more, and especially now most movies you shoot with 2 cameras, and I want to see, you know. But it depends, you know. You have to find the people that you trust. But it's been hard to give up the camera, but I'm there, you know. But sometime I gotta get back on the dolly, and I shoot commercials too. And on commercial, I always operate.
In The Visit, you
no, in The Visit, it was interesting because The Visit is like those kids are shooting. So sometimes it was the camera operator who did The Wrestler. Sometimes it was me because I was smaller, and sometimes it was the kids.
The kids?
Yeah, shooting each other. You know, so it was kind of a mix.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, pleasure to meet you. I'll ask in Portuguese because I'm very nervous. So
okay. Well, I'm very nervous too, so don't worry.
I just want to be clear, you know. Então, Beleza Oculta é um dos meus filmes favoritos, se não o meu filme favorito da vida. A primeira vez que eu vi, eu chorei em posição fetal por um bom tempo. E já vi mais de 15 vezes e continuo chorando. Então, eu queria entender, muito mais pela linguagem da fotografia. E eu queria entender qual foi a sua inspiração para encontrar essa linguagem, por ser um blockbuster e ter esse lado tão dark, assim, porque realmente a fotografia é incrível.
Well, it's interesting. It's your favorite movie. It's not mine, but I mean, the story of this film is interesting because it was a little bit of a different story at the beginning. What I understood, it is a Christmas film, but it's a tragedy. So it's a Christmas film that's very dark. That was kind of the inspiration. It's also a Warner Brother film, so he has to have a little bit of glitz, if you know what I mean. But the film, the first incarnation of the film that we shot, the first cut that I saw, was so much better than the film it is now. It is like when sometimes, you know, there's an expression in English, too many cooks in the kitchen, you know, like the studio has an idea, someone else has an idea, the film is recut, and someone else at the studio, and, you know, so I think the film is good. It was so much better, you know, before. So the inspiration was make a Christmas movie, but like a very dark and tragic Christmas movie.
Hey.
Yes.
It's crazy to think that A Velvet Goldmine was one of your first fictions. It's amazing, and I can't wait to see you and Toddy Haynes working again. And I feel like that's still going to happen. And for fictions, do you feel open to give opinions on the script directly? To give your opinion on the scripts already, like.
I always give my opinion, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful to whom you give your opinion. Denzel Washington, I gave my opinion, but big man, big ego, I liked him a lot. But you have to know when to give your opinion, how to give your opinion, you know. But I give my opinion on the script, absolutely. I give my opinion on actors, you know, and most directors, they want that because you're there with them and you gotta know. I mean, filmmaking is politics too. There's a lot of personalities, there's a lot of egos. But yes, absolutely. I read the script, and I think a director, if he's a smart director, she's a smart director, he's going to want your opinion. I mean, that's why you hire good people, is to have their opinion, you know. So yeah, always the script. Sometime a director I've worked with a few times, I could say, I could go, that was a little bit, that sounded fake, or that was a little bit too much. So that was, yeah, always.
Tem mais alguma pergunta? Corpani.
Oi, boa noite. Boa noite, agradeço a sua presença aqui. Não, uma coisa que eu, como diretor de fotografia, eu sinto falta, que fora do mercado brasileiro, se trabalha muito com stand-in. As pessoas que ficam na posição dos atores originais para você ensaiar e fazer a luz.
Stand-in.
Isso tem... Você costuma trabalhar com stand-in, sim?
Yeah. when I choose a stand-in, I tell them that's very important. Not only same height, same face, you know, that a little bit, same height is good, same face, but watch the role of the stand-in, very important. Watch what the actors are doing, and then you can do it for me again. Yeah, so I always work with stand-in. In the world of commercial, we rarely have stand-ins. So you use the actors because the world of commercial, there's no respect for the actors. But yeah, and then you have some actors who want at the beginning to stand in for you. Someone like Glenn Close, she said, I'll sit for you, you know. Or some people, some actors like to stay on the set, like to be on the set as you lighting, which is sometimes a little bit intimidating, and and some actor we rehearse and then we leave, they go. I like in the middle when an actor, if I really need, the last movie I did many different skin tone, from very African dark to dark brown for Jimmy Fox, and sometime I needed to see the group, and they were great, you know. So the stand-in, you know, yes, and make friends with the actors. And so I mean, in general, actors are really great with the director of photography. I mean, they can be assholes with a costume, or someone like Mickey Rourke, great with me. He was horrible with costume people, and I say, why are you behaving like that? You're like a kid. Of course they're scared of you. I'm not scared of you, but but in general, DPs and actors, most of them have a good relationship, and I cultivate that. I did a movie with Annette Bening, and she's so very good. I really took care of her, you know, the Chinese lantern, the light from underneath. And she would sitting for me, she would stand in for me. So you want to have a great relationship with these actors. Ideally, you want to have a good relationship with everybody, but that doesn't always work.
Hi. I have a question about Creed. One thing that caught my attention when both boxers were fighting, their skin had like a soft highlights. Did you have any decisions with the makeup department about making oils or something to make highlights on their skin?
No, I think the highlights was the sweat. Those guys work hard. But yeah, I work with the makeup with makeup a lot, of course, and I always welcome and monitor the people who do the makeup to help me, to help the actors. Yeah.
Ok, eu acho que a gente tem tempo para uma última pergunta, one final question, and then I think,
sure.
Unfortunately, we
sure. Great.
Wrap this up.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you about how do you work with lighting? Like if you are in a location, if you use like the lighting that is already on the place, or if you always bring your light with you, or if you use like the lighting that is on the location as well.
If you use the light, yeah, because I come from documentary, I'm always gonna try to use what works. But at the point where I am now in my career, I have big trucks full of lights. Sometimes I go outside and say, oh my God, there's all those trucks. So some location have inherently some lights that are great that you're going to use, and I would always embrace that, what's there. That comes from documentary. Sometime now, you know, the world of neons, LED, you have to shoot a lot of tests to see if anything flickers. But I use what I can and change. Sometimes you go just simply in a supermarket, and then you say, oh, that looks great, but then you do a little test and then everything is flickering, or some are flickering. In Creed, in some of the boxing location, I love that some of the fluorescents were green, some were yellow, so I would embrace that. Now, if it doesn't work technically, then I would recreate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to see a lot of young women here.
Obrigada, Maryse. Thank you, Maryse. Obrigada pela presença de todo mundo.
All right. Oh, it's good that we stop.